whoever is advising home services on all of these commission lawsuits either needs to get a raise or needs to pick up the phone and call NAR and pick up another client immediately, because the way that they are going about these commission lawsuits is, from my research, radically different than the rest of the other brokerages and the association for sure, where it seems that NAR is just, I don't know what NAR is doing. It's just, let's just say it seems like lackluster defense. It seems like there's always something happening with NAR. Probably a lot of it has to do with the revolving door leadership that's happening right now, where once you bring a leader in, maybe they don't have time to make any changes, or any changes that are going to be substantive and really have one cohesive strategy. Maybe that's the case. I'm going to give NAR the benefit of the doubt, but with home services, they just got dropped from a buyer commission lawsuit just this week. So we're going to review this, and we actually talked about this, probably not this particular instance, but we talked about the way that home services was approaching this probably sometime last week. It was like 4 videos ago, where I highlighted that it just seems that home services is actually going out there and doing something about this, where they are not hiding behind the podium, where they're not hiding behind a no comment. They're actively out there changing the narrative. So I really appreciate that. Again, whoever's advising home services, whether it's their legal team, whether it's the leadership, whether it's whomever, please pick up the phone and call NAR immediately. Because the way that they're going about it is radically different. Again, I'll link up the video that I brought that point up here down in the comment section below, but let's read what's happening right now. This article is courtesy of Inman. Home services dropped from long-running buyer commission lawsuit. The court dismissed a federal antitrust claim in the case known as Batten 1, but allowed state law claims to proceed, so they didn't completely get off the hook altogether, but a good at least they're off the federal part, partially due to the arrangement the commissions are banked into home prices. So we're going to read briefly, and then we're going to talk about the strategy that they're deploying. Home services will no longer have to fight an antitrust commission lawsuit lodged by home buyers against the National Association of Realtors and major real estate franchisors. On Tuesday, Judge Andrea Wood, thank you, Judge, of the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Illinois, Eastern Division, dismissed a claim made by buyer plaintiffs under a federal antitrust law, but declined to toss nearly all of the plaintiffs' claims under state antitrust law. So here's the important part that we need to address here. The commission lawsuits, they have been happening. NAR in and of itself has been implicated in over 20, has been named in over 20 lawsuits since all of this commission thing started coming to light. But something to note here is that this particular lawsuit is coming from the buyer side, which is atypical. It's not the normal copycat lawsuits that we see throughout the industry. Most of the lawsuits come from the seller side, so from the homeowners that hired an agent and now are getting all of these direct mailers from attorney offices, letting them know that, hey, you can now sue, or hey, you can join a class action lawsuit. Hey, we need somebody that's affected. We need a party that's affected, so we can charge you on a contingent basis, go after these associations, these brokerages, collect millions and millions of dollars. We're going to keep 40 to 60% of the earnings, and then whatever's left over, we're going to send to you home sellers. That's essentially the pitch. Now, this particular lawsuit is coming from the buyer side. You don't see a lot of lawsuits coming from those folks that purchased a home and are now coming back and saying, hey, the price that I purchased on this, the price that I bought this house for, it wasn't worth it, or it was inflated because of the commission that I had to pay, or the money that I paid to purchase, the home seller had to cover the buyer agent commission, which you're going to see doesn't make sense. So the suit, which seeks class action status and is known as Batten 1, was originally filed by the New Jersey home buyer Judah Leader in January of 2021, alleged NAR rules have inflated agent commissions and resulted in a higher price paid by buyers. So that's what we just talked about. The buyers are saying if agents weren't getting compensated, or if this arrangement wasn't being done, then the home would have sold for less. So I would have purchased it for less, is what this home buyer is claiming. Now, in May of 2022, so almost a year, beyond a year, I'm sorry, Wood dismissed the suit, agreeing with the defendant. So in this case, in this case, sorry, in this case, Home Services. I get all my names messed up. Agreeing that the home buyers are in. Let's start all over again. Here we go. In May 2022, Wood dismissed the suit, agreeing that the defendants that home buyers are indirect purchasers of their buyer broker services because those services are purchased for them by the home sellers, making these buyers ineligible. Here's the important part: ineligible for damages under the antitrust statutes. So here, what they ended up saying was, you're not even a party to this. Like, you're not even affected. This is not you. This is more in line from the home sellers. They're the ones that need to be bringing this suit. And then she goes on to cite the Morrell case and the Missouri case that's happened, or that the judgment that ended up happening there. Goes on to cite that, hey, this is already being litigated over here, so I'm going to toss this out. Now in July, so as soon as they heard word of the dismissal of the claims, 8 home buyers filed an amended complaint. So they came right back saying, hey, this time they went after NAR, Realogy, Keller Williams, Remax, Home Services of America, and then the 3 subsidiaries, which, just a heads up, that's Berkshire Hathaway and Long Foster Companies. The amended complaint terminated Leader as the lead plaintiff. So the home buyer that was, leading the entire the case. Again, they weren't necessarily. Let me back up. I can't be sure, but I almost guarantee you, I have a strong feeling that this home buyer was certainly not footing the bill for this lawsuit. The attorneys needed a party that was damaged, or not damaged. They needed somebody that was implicated in this part or suffered damages as a result of this. So they needed a useful plaintiff to allege this. Well, they dropped that plaintiff, or that plaintiff dropped themselves, and they added 8 new plaintiffs. So they swapped them in and out. And that's where we get the Batten lawsuit. So Maya Batten stepped right into the role and became the lead plaintiff there. Now they go on to share that, hey, while this is something that we drop Home Services of America from this particular lawsuit, we drop it from the national component, the national antitrust. But as far as the state antitrust, that's still on the table. So again, they didn't get it completely. They didn't get away completely scot-free from this particular suit. They, right off the gate, they were said to not, the national antitrust thing, that doesn't even. Home Services has no business here with that. So don't come at them with that mess. Now I want to share something else. So, without prejudice. So yeah, they still have the ability to come back with another amended claim if they so choose, to see if they have better arguments. So again, once they came back again in July, once they came back in July in 2022, the same judge said the same thing. Hey, to the extent a putative class member faces a significant threat of injury from the defendant's alleged antitrust violations and their capacity as a buyer, they would likely be simultaneously exposed to an injury as a seller too. They would be threatened with the same injury as was suffered by the home seller class certified in Morrell and Burnett. These circumstances further underscores that the home sellers are best situated to seek injunctive relief. So once again, the judge tossed it out and said, hey, this is more from the seller side. This is not from the home buyer side. And then goes on to cite, as you saw, Morrell and Burnett's suit as vindication or as reinforcement to why she is tossing this stuff out. Now, somebody who's becoming my spirit animal very quickly is Chris Kelly. I don't know who Chris Kelly is. I need to DM this individual, but this individual, I highlighted him 4 videos ago. I can't remember exactly when I did this, but the way that Home Services is going about this is so, is so cool. We'll start there. So first we'll read what he says. We were pleased to see the dismissal, and given the fact that it was based on jurisdictional grounds and without prejudice to a potential refiling, we are going to refrain from formally commenting as we wait to see if the plaintiffs take additional action. So what's so different? Why is Chris Kelly becoming my spirit animal? The rest goes on to give some examples, so I'm not too interested in that. We've covered a lot of similar lawsuits in the past, so I want to share more about what I feel Home Services is doing that's different than the other brokerages, or at least that I'm aware of. So I've spent over 100 hours researching all of this at this point, and counting. So I've been knee deep in this for months now. But it seems that Home Services, the first thing that they're trying to do is, hey, we shouldn't even be named, right? So I have a feeling this is something that happens in law just in general, where you try to get out of the entire situation by, I'm not even part of this. Like, I wasn't even invited to this party. I have nothing to do with this. That's been their strategy from day one. And all the lawsuits that we see Home Services being named, you're going to see two things. One is that they're arguing that we shouldn't be named in this because of X, Y, and Z. Whatever X, Y, and Z happens to be, they're putting out those reasons. That's something that you see consistently whenever Home Services gets named. Again, NAR is being named in over 20 lawsuits at the moment. Home Services, I don't necessarily know the amount. There's going to be less than those 20 lawsuits, but either way, they're being named in a good amount of the lawsuits as well because they're one of the largest brokerages in the country. So those bigger pockets. So first thing is, don't come at us with that mess. We're not even part of this. That we shouldn't have been named in this lawsuit. This is something that is not for us to even talk about. So they're not even saying, hey, we are right or wrong in this. It's like, not our monkey. Nope, not on us, right? So that's one. The second thing that happens quite consistently is you see Chris Kelly, the individual that we just highlighted here. Again, the reason that this person has become such a fan is because this individual is going out there and actually sharing the thoughts. Now, this could lead to certain ramifications down the road when these statements that are published, given that this is an ongoing litigated item, could come back in court. I recognize that, but it just seems that Chris Kelly, who is their executive vice president for Home Services, is actually trying to change the narrative, trying to provide some context to what Home Services is doing, what it's not doing, what they're implicated, what they're not implicated in, why they're right, why they're wrong. They're essentially doing some effective PR. This is not something that I'm seeing from Keller Williams. This is not something that I'm seeing from NAR. This is something I'm not seeing from the other brokerages that have been implicated or named in all of these lawsuits. It just seems that Home Services at this point actually has a formula that's partially working. Again, the national component, that was tossed out by this judge. The state component, maybe that wasn't, but they're at least off the hook for one part of it. Again, I don't know who's advising Home Services of America, but you either need a raise or you need to pick up the phone and call NAR, or NAR, I know you're watching, call these people. Because what we as agents, what we feel is that you're just not really representing us to the best of your abilities. There's just a lot that we feel could be done, or at least if you are doing things in the background, let us know, share, provide some context as to why all these fees continue to be paid. And very, very soon, as the liability insurance runs out here in June of 2024, if you have no idea what I'm referencing, watch yesterday's video. Once this liability insurance runs out, and even before, these fees, these dues that we're paying into the National Association of Realtors is going to go up. There's no other way around it. So again, huge shout out to Home Services of America. I know that you keep getting named in all these lawsuits, but the way that you're approaching it at least has some level of sense, or at least from what we're seeing, has a level of rationale. So it's rational. And then also good for you to have a micro win here. I know that we still have a long way to go. It's a huge uphill battle, but at the end of the day, you won one today. It's not to say that you're not going to get named in another lawsuit tomorrow. In fact, I almost guarantee it. So either way, a very, very small glimmer of hope here. But either way, again, congratulations to Home Services. If you have, let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think? Do we need to change strategies? What should the strategy for NAR be? Do you think Home Services is doing it right? Do you think they're doing it wrong? Do you have some insider information there? I will gladly take all the information you got. Let me know in the comment section below. I'll talk to you tomorrow.